Hello and welcome. My name is Cindy Berteret. I work for Santa Rosa City Schools in tobacco intervention and prevention. Last year, the district received a grant from the Department of Justice to address the issue of vaping amongst our student population. That funding has allowed us to hire additional campus supervisors in our secondary schools, as well as provide presentations to our students. So far this year, well over 3,000 students have received information about the dangers of vaping. This presentation can also be found on our website, srcschools.org/vaping, under parent presentations, and there's the slide version if you would like to go more slowly through these slides. So right now we are dealing with the coronavirus pandemic. A lot is still not understood, but we do know that the virus attacks the lungs, and anything that we do to our lungs to weaken them can cause us to be more vulnerable to infections. And one thing that we do know for sure with smoking, and as well as vaping, is that it weakens the immune system and could possibly make someone more susceptible to the effects of the coronavirus. So now that we are at home, shelter in place, you may pick up on signs that your teen is vaping. These are some of the signs. One of the key signs is a fruity smell. So if you to me, it smells like fruit snacks. So if you take a fruit snack bag and you smell it, that's pretty much what it smells like. So if you smell something like that, it's not coming from a candle. Your teen may say that they're burning a candle in their room, but no, it really is a distinct fruity smell. And then here are some of the other signs. And this can be really a time, if you pick up on this or you find out that your teen is vaping, this is really a perfect time to have that conversation with them. But that can be difficult. And there are some guides online that you can refer to that will help walk you through that process of talking with your teen, knowing that it's not about giving a lecture, but really a conversation, and maybe a conversation that will take place over several days or even several weeks, possibly even several months. And these guides can be accessed on our website. Here are some resources if your teen is vaping and wants to quit. Many teens who get addicted to nicotine through vaping, they do want to quit, and it can be very difficult. Now that they're at home without the social pressure or peer pressure that they might have on school campuses, this is a perfect time for them to quit. And here are some resources. There's an app that they can put on their phone. Even Alexa can be a quit vaping coach. There is chat, phone call. All of these can be done remotely. So a little bit of history about vaping. In 1880, or the early 1880s, smoking cigarettes as we know it today was not very popular. You had to roll your own cigarettes, but the cigarette rolling machine was invented in 1880. And from there, that's when we saw a large increase in cigarette smoking, especially after our world wars, when cigarettes were given out for free to soldiers. 1963, Herbert A. Gilbert had the first idea about electronic cigarettes, but because cigarettes were so popular by that time, the cigarette companies were not interested in investing in a new idea. 1964, the Surgeon General came out with the first report stating that many people are dying from smoking cigarettes through lung disease, heart disease, etc. In 2003, the first electronic cigarette was created by Hanlich in China, and he used Herbert A. Gilbert's designs to create his first electronic cigarette. And his intentions were good. His father died of lung cancer, and he himself is a heavy smoker. So his intention was to create something that would be safer for adult smokers. It was never intended to be used by young people who have never smoked a cigarette. In 2015, Juul came onto the market, and that's really where we saw a huge increase in the number of teens vaping. From 2017 to 2018, the percentage of high schoolers vaping increased by 78%, and among our middle schoolers, that increased by 48%. Quite a jump. When we look at the statistics for smoking and vaping over time, you can see that starting in 1965, the rates of smoking started to decline amongst adults. And then we have data there in the late 90s showing teen smoking and that going down as well. So that report came out in 1964 from the Surgeon General, and that's when we really started to see a decline rates of smoking. These are national statistics for high school students. And we can see on the left that for cigarette smoking, it went down almost to 6%. Here in California, it's even lower. I believe it's around 2%. So really very few teens smoking cigarettes. We've done a really good job with public education about the dangers of smoking cigarettes. And that has had an impact, a positive impact. Those in the medical field thought that this generation might be the first generation to completely wipe out smoking. But as we can see with the electronic cigarettes, here in 2019, 1 in 3 high schoolers are vaping. And some say that these statistics are probably even higher. The important thing to remember is that while 1 in 3 high school students are vaping, there are 2 out of 3 high schoolers that are not vaping. So while it may seem that everybody is doing it and I have to try it, there are quite a few teens that are not doing it, but enough that we're very concerned. So what is an electronic cigarette? It has 4 parts. There's a battery, an atomizer, a cartridge, and a mouthpiece, and the cartridge could also be a pod that stores the e-liquid. Some of the newer generation electronic cigarettes combine the atomizer and the cartridge, and it's called a cartomizer. The atomizer has a coil inside of it that heats up the liquid. And what they're finding is the aerosol that is coming out of these vaping devices has metals in there like tin and silver and nickel, and they believe that that is coming off of this part of the vaping device, which is the atomizer. Some ask, how did these products get onto the market with basically zero regulations? One of the ways that they did that is that they said that the Food and Drug Administration can regulate tobacco products, but they can't regulate these because there's no tobacco. However, the Food and Drug Administration said, yes, we need to regulate these products because just like cigarettes, they contain nicotine. That has led to lawsuits from the vaping companies and between the vaping companies and the FDA, and that has been going on for about a decade. So what is in the e-liquid? In the e-liquid, you have nicotine and you have flavorings, but you also have propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin. And propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin are found in our food products, and they've been approved to be ingested. Propylene glycol can be found in dry food products like cake mixes and soup mixes, and vegetable glycerin is found in our toothpaste. So while these ingredients are perfectly fine to be ingested, they have not been approved for being heated up in a liquid and inhaled into the lungs. Something to know about Juul pods and puff bars, which we'll talk about in a second. They also contain benzoic acid. This is because they use a type of nicotine called nicotine salts. And because of that, they add this benzoic acid to their formula. Here are some of the devices on the far left. These are the ones that we most often see on our campuses, the Soren pod and the Juul device. In January, the federal government passed a flavor ban on pods. And what that meant is that Juul could no longer sell their flavored pods. Currently, they can only sell tobacco flavor and menthol flavor. But one thing they left out was the puff bars. So puff bars have taken advantage of this loophole in the federal flavor ban because the puff bars do not have a pod that houses the liquid. If you open up a puff bar, you can see inside there's a cotton, and the cotton is what holds the e-liquid. So that is how they were able to get around the federal ban on flavored pods. And since that ban, this is what we're really seeing a lot on our campuses are these puff bars. In the middle, you can see what looks like a tank system. These are called tank systems because you can pour the e-liquid into it. It doesn't come in a pod that you insert. You pour the e-liquid in there, and these are called mods, meaning that they are modifiable. And companies are making these vaping devices easier to hide. What I tell students in my presentations is that adults don't need to hide when they vape. This is really targeting young people to what they call stealth vape. In the classroom, being able to vape without the teacher knowing. There's the hoodie with the strings that they could vape out of. The pen that you see there, it's a tank system, so you could pour the e-liquid in there, but it actually writes. Hiding their phone, being able to vape, but making it look like a phone case, the key fob, a watch, Sharpie, and then even a backpack that has a hydration system and a vaping system. So we saw in the statistics that cigarette smoking has gone way down. So companies are asking themselves who is going to replace the old smokers. And they know that if teens start to smoke or vape before the age of 18, the likelihood of them getting addicted to nicotine is very, very high. And that's because teens' brains are still developing and won't be fully developed until the age of 25. So they are more susceptible to becoming addicted to nicotine. One thing we're also finding is that teens who vape are 4 times more likely to go on to smoke cigarettes. We don't exactly know why, but it could be that the addiction to nicotine lowers their negative views of cigarettes, because nicotine is nicotine. If you need it, you can get it from vaping. You can also get it from cigarettes. So some of their marketing strategies, the vaping companies like to say that we are not big tobacco. We are trying to help adult smokers quit smoking cigarettes, but actually they're working together. Altria, that makes Marlboro cigarettes, invested almost $13 billion in Juul. They spent about $1 million on advertising. In the beginning, companies like Juul would pay social influencers to promote their products online. They're not doing that anymore, but actually social media platforms have provided a free way for their products to be promoted through videos, memes, and cartoons. They target young people through their advertising and the flavors, and they're using some old tobacco company advertising. So let's look at some of the flavors. And currently there are over 15,000 different flavors. Honey doo-doo, unicorn poop you've probably heard about. And really that is to target young people. This is not something that adults are wanting to, that's not the attraction for adults. This is really targeting our young people. When I was growing up, this is what we had. We had these candy cigarettes, and you can look at the packaging and it looks exactly like a regular cigarette pack. And the idea was, be just like dad, try out these candy cigarettes, pretend that you're smoking, and then maybe when you get older, you'll try the real thing. Here is packaging for e-liquid. Everything you see here is e-liquid. When I first saw this image, I thought it said Pop Rocks, and actually it says Pop Clouds. One of the major problems with this type of packaging is that these e-liquids can, in homes where these products are used, very young children get a hold of them and ingest them and get nicotine poisoning. It's important to note that nicotine in its liquid form is a poison. If you were to ingest it, you can get nicotine poisoning. Also, if you were to get it onto your skin, it can be absorbed into your body and you can also get sick. If you were to touch the e-liquid and then touch your eyes, it can also be absorbed into your body through your eyes. So liquid nicotine in these products should not be touched. They also make it look like candy on purpose. This is copying an ice cream carton packaging. So which one is the juice? They look very, very similar. This is a common tactic, but you can see that this one is the real juice, 100% apple juice, and over here, e-juice. This is an ad for young people, and we're going to zoom into the sticky note here. And some of these things just stand out as not being adult activities. Band practice and studying, these are not adult activities. They can't do this type of advertising anymore, but it's just to show you that this is what they were doing when they started out to target young people. And they're using ads from the past, this one from 1941, and then here we are again in 2013. And there are many examples of old ads being reused to sell vaping products. And here's an ad for Juul. Juul, their first ad campaign was called Vaporized. And while they used models that were 21 and older, they still looked pretty young. The girl in the middle, she's 21, but she doesn't look it. That is not what adults wear or how they pose. It really was targeting young people. They cannot do this type of advertising anymore. And we can see from this quote in 1974 that the companies were targeting this age group. The issue that we're seeing now is it's not just 14-year-olds that are vaping. We have students as young as 5th grade that are trying out vaping. So 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds. So this is a real problem. When these products first came out, teens would say, well, it's just flavoring. It's just water vapor. It's perfectly harmless. And when teens were asked, the majority of them said, it's just flavoring. But actually, no. As you saw, it's not just flavoring. They did do a study and tested all types of tobacco vaping products, all the different types of e-liquid, and they found that 99% of them did contain nicotine. Even products that said 0% nicotine still had nicotine. So we wanted to find out how much, and this is from the Tobacco Prevention Toolkit. You can see their logo there. They wanted to find out how much. Most of these packages will say 5% strength. If you look at a puff bar, it'll say right on there 5% strength. Stanford Medicine wanted to find out, well, how much is that? How much nicotine is 5%? Because 5% doesn't actually sound like that much. And what they found is that it is equal to 41.3 milligrams of nicotine. So how many cigarettes is 41.3 milligrams of nicotine? So they also looked at that. So one pack of cigarettes is 20 milligrams of nicotine. Each cigarette is about 1 milligram of nicotine after it's combustible. So what's left of what the person actually inhales is about 1 milligram of nicotine. And so one pack of cigarettes is 20 milligrams of nicotine. What that means is that one Juul pod is 41 cigarettes. That 41.3 milligrams of nicotine is closer to 2 packs of cigarettes. The puff bars are 50 cigarettes, so over 2.5 packs of cigarettes. And then we have the Soren pod with 90 milligrams of nicotine. There currently are no limits on the amount of nicotine that can be put into these products. In European countries, there is a limit of 20 milligrams of nicotine. So it would be wonderful sometime in the near future if our government can regulate these things to limit it, at least limit the amount of nicotine to 20 milligrams of nicotine. So here we have teens whose brains are developing until the age of 25. They're more susceptible to nicotine addiction. And in addition, they are inhaling high levels of nicotine. All pods contain very high levels of nicotine. So how does nicotine work? It is, once it's breathed in through the lungs, and then that goes into the bloodstream and goes to the brain, and all of that takes about 10 seconds, 7 to 10 seconds actually. Once it gets there, it produces adrenaline that gives that flight or fight response. The heart rate increases, and that also constricts the blood vessels. Teens talk about a nic buzz. It's very brief. It only lasts for a couple of minutes. Over time, the teen will need higher levels of nicotine to get that same feeling. It also impacts the parts of the brain that play a role in attention, memory, learning, and brain plasticity. Some of the symptoms from nicotine withdrawals are being irritable, headaches, sweating. Some teens are vaping because they think it can help relieve stress. However, it actually can lead to increased stress and levels of depression. Part of that being the nicotine withdrawal, feeling anxious, feeling tired or groggy, difficulty sleeping. And these can be very difficult to overcome. The other thing that teens will say is that it's just a water vapor. So again, Stanford Medicine looked at this and wanted to find out, is it a vapor or is it an aerosol? And what they found is that it is an aerosol, but unlike hairspray that has very large particles, the aerosol that comes out of the vaping devices has ultrafine particles. And so they studied that as well to find out what is in the aerosol. And they found over 80 chemicals, some of which are the same ones that are found in cigarettes, such as formaldehyde, which is cancer causing. They also found silver, nickel, and tin. These are heavy metals. Again, possibly coming off of the metal parts that are in these devices. They also found lead. So these are not things that your teen should be inhaling. And we don't know the long-term effects of inhaling these types of chemicals, but we do know that some of them are cancer causing and can lead to problems in the lungs. Some will say, well, cigarettes produce over 7,000 chemicals, so this is only 80 chemicals. What I tell students is, as an example, you're on the freeway driving 90 miles an hour without a seatbelt. Is that safe? It's not safe. But imagine you're on the freeway driving 90 miles an hour and you do have your seatbelt on. That's safer, but is it safe? So while some may say that these are safer, it's still not safe. So all of these have been found in the e-cigarette aerosol. And where else can you find these chemicals? You can find them in toluene is found in gasoline, acetone is in our nail polish remover, ethylbenzene, paints and pesticides, formaldehyde is used to preserve dead bodies, nicotine, and then rubidium is something that gives color to our fireworks. Here are some of the health effects. In addition to nicotine addiction, mouth and throat irritation, if somebody has asthma, it can make it worse. Headaches, damage to the blood vessels, high blood pressure, increased heart rate, upset stomach, nausea. The propylene glycol that is in the e-liquid reduces the amount of saliva produced in the mouth, and that can lead to extreme thirst and also nosebleeds. And in some cases, there have been vaping has led to seizures. This image is just to show the side effects of nicotine and that it affects every system in our body: central nervous system, circulatory system, muscular system, etc. It affects every system in our body. Vaping has led to lung injuries. Most of the lung injuries were traced back to the use smoking THC or vaping THC that was found in cartridges that were bought illegally. However, not all of the cases were related to THC. About 14% involved nicotine use only. Over half of the patients were young, under the age of 24. These cases, the most recent update is from February 18th. However, with coronavirus, the CDC has not been updating these cases, so these cases may still be going on, but we don't know what those numbers are because they maybe are not being reported right now because of the coronavirus. Here's an example of a teen who got addicted to vaping. He's from Michigan. He was really into running and sailing. He wanted to become a Navy SEAL. He picked up on vaping just from his friends. He would take a hit off their vape. And then eventually someone had left a device in his car and he got into vaping. Last summer, he had decided that he would vape the whole summer, and then once school started in the fall, he would stop, except that by then it was too late. He ended up in the hospital with a lung injury. They were not able to help his lungs recover, so he had to get a double lung transplant. And you can see there that the arrow is pointing to the only air that was left in his lungs. Thankfully, he was able to get that the lung transplant, because at the time the doctors gave him a 10% chance of living. And if you want to watch the video about his experience, you can go to that link right there. And here's a quote from a teen. So most teens feel pretty invincible. So hearing about these lung injuries is not something that's going to motivate them to quit. But some other things could cause them to want to quit: just the amount of money they're spending on it, the stress involved in trying to get these products when they're not of legal age, and they're probably not feeling very healthy. And it's probably also impacting their academics and their athletic performance. One of the things that's difficult to get over, not just for people who vape or people who smoke cigarettes, is something called oral fixation. habit of always having something in their mouth, and that can be as difficult to get over as the addiction to nicotine. So what can teens do? If they've never started, they should never start. You never have to stop something that you never started. If someone offers them a vape, they can just say, "No, no thanks, I'm good," and that usually can work. They can make an excuse, they can leave, they can change the subject, they can make a joke. If they are already addicted, there are resources out there to help them quit. Here are some excuses that your teen can use. They can just say, "It's not my thing. I'm worried about getting addicted to nicotine. I don't want my athletic performance to suffer," or maybe, "I don't want my academic performance to suffer. I want to stay healthy. I don't want to get in trouble. It's expensive. I don't want to disappoint my family or friends." Or even right now, they can say, "With the coronavirus, I don't want to damage my health and make myself more vulnerable to this virus." These products are also affecting our environment. We currently don't have a way of recycling these products. They have nicotine, which is an acute hazardous waste, and they have batteries, which is electronic waste. And these things are being thrown out into the trash. The image on the right that you see, those are cigarette butts, and cigarette butts are the #1 littered item on the planet. So reducing the amount of people that smoke can help that. But now we have this added problem. We're trying to get rid of single-use plastic, straws, and plastic bags. And now you can see the image on the left. Those are Juul pods that were collected in a high school parking lot. So this is adding to the problem in waste in our environment. So what is the government doing? I talked about the January ban on flavored pods. They also made the legal age to purchase 21 nationally. It's been 21 in California since 2016. Cities and states are passing their own bans. The cities of Windsor and Cloverdale have passed some ordinances against flavored tobacco products. San Francisco passed their own ban, and it's not a forever ban, but it's a ban until we know more about these products and set some regulations around them. If you are in San Francisco, you cannot buy these products. And if you order online, they will not deliver to an address in San Francisco. In May, the Food and Drug Administration is to receive applications from these companies if they want to keep selling their products. We will see where that goes. Everything has kind of been upended at this point in our federal government. So we're keeping track of that, and hopefully we're going to have some new regulations after that time period. So the takeaway, it's not a water vapor, but an aerosol that contains chemicals such as formaldehyde, which causes cancer, and toxic heavy metals such as nicotine and lead. The e-cigarettes have high levels of nicotine, which can lead to addiction and harm brain development. And really, nobody knows the long-term health effects of these products. So some strategies for teens to quit, and these can all be found on that website, teen.smokefree.gov. It's important for them to know why they're quitting and set a date, surround themselves with people who can support them, prepare for those cravings, know what their triggers are, avoid places where others are vaping. Right now is a perfect time because they are sheltering in place, so they're not on a school campus where they might run into people vaping in the bathroom or vaping on other parts of the campus or after school. So this really is an ideal moment for them to quit. And again, here is help to quit. All of these resources can be found on the website novapes.org. You can find all of that right there. There's also Ditch Juul to text Ditch Juul to 88709. Many more resources are available on our website at srcschools.org/vaping. And the following videos have been used in student presentations, and we encourage you to watch them with your child. I'm just going to go through them. With this recording through Zoom, I'm not able to show videos, but you can watch all of the videos. If you go to our website, to the parent presentations. You have the slides. You can just go through the slides, and these are at the end of that slide presentation, and you can watch all of the videos right there. And I would encourage you to do that. This first one has been very popular amongst our high school students and secondary students, and it's a rap song, and it's very entertaining. And this one was featured on an episode of Raven's Home, where they talked about the issue of vaping and the peer pressure to vape. This is a video done by Truth, Animals Against Human Testing, because these products were not tested on lab rats before they were put out to the general public. So it's kind of a fun video that they did there. And then this one comes from the Tobacco-Free California, and it's a very insightful video showing children's reaction to different flavored tobacco products. So I encourage you to watch those with your teen or even your young person at home. I thank you for watching, and you can contact me. My email address is on our website, and you can contact me there with any further questions or information you'd like to have about resources.